Hi everyone, hi everybody, my name is Rainer, this is my channel Rainier Books. Today I'm going to give you the second single review of the year of 2021. I'm going to talk about David Heska Wanbli Weiden's book, Winter Counts. So Winter Counts by David Heska Wanbli Weiden is a debut novel. The author is an enrolled citizen of the Sikango Lakota Nation and received his Master of Fine Arts from the Institute of American Indian Arts, which is located in Santa Fe in New Mexico. He today lives as a lawyer and a professor in Denver, Colorado, and this is, as I said, his first novel. I don't know what non-Native Americans know about life on the reservations in the United States. Or Res Life, as David Treuer has called his book that appeared in 2012 by Grove Press, which is an amazing non-fiction account of life on an Indian reservation. So I don't know what people outside the reservations who are not natives know about the reservation life. I don't know anything, I could say, or almost anything. I'm from Germany. I live in Sweden. I'm in Europe. So, but this is what this book, Winter Counts, is bringing us closer. But this is one of the great achievements that this book is actually giving us. There are more than 300 Native American reservations in the United States, and the vast majority of them is located west of the Mississippi River. And the protagonist of this really thrilling novel, it's a thriller, Winter Counts. The protagonist is a man called Virgil Wounded Horse, who has lived a very difficult life on the reservation. He has been mostly unemployed. He has been an alcoholic. Now he is sober. He doesn't drink anymore, which is very positive. And he lives in a very small and little house together with his nephew, Nathan Wounded Horse. And he describes that house in the very beginning of the novel. In one of the first pages, there is the sentence, "I opened the door to the shack that the government calls a house." So Virgil Wounded Horse is living on the Rosebud Reservation in the state of South Dakota. And he has been living there for most of his life. He is doing his job as a so-called enforcer, which means that he enforces the law, or he enforces a moral kind of unwritten law for people who don't get justice from the systems that are being set up for them. Because if you live in an Indian reservation, the reservations, they have tribal sovereignty, which means that small crimes and misdemeanors are being handled by the so-called tribal police and even by tribal courts. The felonies, stronger and bigger crimes like rape, like homicides, like murder, they are being handled by the FBI and not by the local police of the county that surrounds the reservation, or the state, but by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And very often the FBI is not very keen in handling these cases. They just simply don't want to do that. And that is why so many cases of missing Indigenous women and girls, of murdered Indigenous women and girls, are unsolved and never solved. Lives that have been lost to some crimes and so many lives that have been lost on the reservations, especially of Indigenous women and girls, that are not being investigated or have only roughly been investigated. So enforcers do exist on the reservations, not on every reservation, and it's not an official role, it's more a private role. And Virgil Wounded Horse is the guy you call on the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. For example, when you have a case like your sister is getting beaten up by her husband, your brother-in-law, and nobody cares about this case. trouble, police doesn't do anything, nobody does anything, then you can call the enforcer, who is in this case Virgil Wounded Horse on the Rosebud Reservation, and for 100 or 200 bucks he will come and he will beat up your brother-in-law to help your sister. So that's his job. He's working construction a little bit from time to time, and he's working as an enforcer. He has been in a beautiful relationship with a woman named Mary Stonebear a couple of years ago, but this relationship broke up because of his alcoholism, which is now over. He is sober. He lives together with his 14-year-old nephew, Nathan Wounded Horse, tries to bring up the boy and to give him a good education. His sister, the mother of Nathan, has died tragically in a car accident. One day, Virgil Wounded Horse is called to the house of the father of Mary Stonebear, Ben Stonebear, and Ben, who is a councilman, a very rich, one of the few rich people on the reservation and a very influential politician on the reservation, he asks Virgil to go to Denver to investigate a case because Ben says he has knowledge of tar heroin is being dealt on the reservation's grounds, and he wants to stop the tar heroin which kills the young people, which affects the young people, and Virgil is the man he is looking for, who is supposed to investigate, who is supposed to get these people away from the reservation. And there's one guy, I think his name is Rick Crow, who is the main culprit in this situation of selling heroin. He's also a member of the tribe. Virgil, after a while, does Virgil accept the offer? It's $5,000 as a reward that Ben Stonebear is going to pay for him. So Virgil goes with his car, and together with Mary Stonebear, they are sort of getting a new go on their old relationship. They are driving in a car through the states of Nebraska to Colorado to Denver to investigate the drug case. And here's what David Heska Wanbli Weiden writes about the trip. They are listening to music, they're driving with a car through Nebraska. 20 songs later, we passed through the desolation of White Clay, Nebraska, just over the state line from South Dakota and the Pine Ridge Reservation. Pine Ridge was dry, so a handful of liquor stores had popped up in White Clay decades ago. The town, population 12, existed solely to support the beer barns that sold booze to the citizens of Pine Ridge right across the border. Of course, every visiting newspaper reporter and TV camera crew had to take shots at the Indians passed out in town by the stores. The bums with the dirty clothes and the vomit smeared across their faces. Poverty porn. The camera crews never ventured 100 miles east, where liquor was sold openly on the Rosebud Res. Sure, we had alcoholics. I'd been one of them for a while, but there was far less sensationalism to be filmed or written about on our res. Instead, every TV anchor person like Diane Sawyer had to focus on Pine Ridge and the supposedly sad Indians there. There was plenty of sadness on our res as well, but why not cover the good things that were happening at Rosebud and Pine Ridge? All the res artists and musicians, the skateboard parks, new businesses, and the groups revitalizing Lakota language and culture. I watched the desolate Nebraska landscape pass by, and soon I dozed while Mary drove. After a while, I woke up and looked around. And this trip is very beautifully described and told by David, the author. He describes a monument that I have never heard of before, which is a car, sort of copy of the very famous Stonehenge monument in the United Kingdom. And he describes how Virgil and Mary are walking around the monument, and how Virgil is having his thoughts about this monument. But this is just something that is sort of off the main track of the novel, but very beautiful details that I love. Everyone loves details, I think. So they're driving to Denver, but very soon they're arriving in Denver. They're trying to investigate the case, but very soon Virgil gets a call from the reservation. He has to come back because his 14-year-old son because his 14-year-old nephew Nathan has been arrested. Opioid pills have been found in his locker in school, and the 14-year-old boy risks 20 years in federal prison for this thing that he says he has nothing to do with. So Virgil breaks up everything in Denver and takes Mary and the car back to the reservation, to Rosebud. And then a very thrilling story starts. I think I told you in my video on Sunday, in my weekly wrap-up, that I really had to finish this novel. I was like 2/3 in, and then the last third was so exciting, was such a page-turner that I couldn't sleep, that I had to finish this, and it was 5:15 in the morning. David Heska Wanbli Weiden, you robbed me of my sleep with this great thriller that you have written. But this is not only a thriller, and that's what makes this novel so special, and that's why I gave it 5 stars. Because this is not only a novel which is a conventional thriller. This is also a novel about life on the reservations, about Native Americans, and this taught me so much about, and teaches us so much about their culture, about their current situation, about sadness, as he has written in that paragraph, but also about the good things that are happening there and all the attempts to establish a better life. This is really a great novel which combines the two genres, like being a thriller and being a novel with a great social consciousness, and being a great social novel that is describing a part of America, I think, that we usually do not read so much about. And that's why I enjoyed this novel so much. It has a unique setting. It has a very good description of the belief and disbelief of ancient traditions and how people are sometimes neglecting these traditions, like Virgil does in a lot of cases. But then in the end, he's slowly convinced to try some of the ancient traditions, which are secret. They are not supposed to be described. And David Heska Wanbli Weiden has said in the acknowledgements of the novel that all the rituals that he has described here are taken from other existing books. He is giving no secrets of his tribe here. And I learned, I think, 2 things that I took away from this novel as very special for me, is that there is no word for goodbye in Lakota, because you never say goodbye, because everything is connected. And this is really a very strong philosophical thought that is apparently a very steady belief of the Lakota nation. You don't say goodbye to people. There's no word for goodbye in the Lakota language, because everything is always connected. You cannot say simply goodbye to something. So when one of your ancestors has died, like my mother died in June of 2020, you cannot say simply goodbye to her. You are always connected to her. And that's what I am. And that's what we all are. We are connected with each other, and we are connected with our past and with our heritage. So I guess we could actually learn a lot from Native American culture. Winter Counts, the title. It's pretty much in the beginning. The solution to that is when Virgil is thinking about his sister who has passed away. Winter counts were the calendar system used by the Lakota, but they weren't like modern ones. I'd love the little pictures on the calendars, each image showing the most significant event from the past year. Sybil and I used to make our own with paper and crayons when we were kids. And another quotation, another last quote, sadness is like an abandoned car left out in a field for good. It changes a little over the years, but doesn't ever disappear. You may forget about it for a while, but it's still there, rusting away until you notice it again. Winter Counts by David Heska Wanbli Weiden is a 5-star novel for me because it combines a gripping conventional thriller with the social aspects of Native American life in the United States in the year of 2020 under the Lakota Nation. It's a great book, and I really recommend it for everyone to read. Thanks very much for watching this video, and I will see you soon on this channel. Wear a mask, stay safe, socially distance, and bye-bye. I see you soon.